Picture the savage 793 AD raid on Lindisfarne Abbey that ignited the Viking Age, a fog-shrouded shockwave of snarling dragon ships bursting from dawn mist, flames devouring holy treasures and blood painting the sands, forever reshaping Europe's fate. Forged in Scandinavia's merciless crucible of sheer fjords, gnawing famines, and unrelenting ice, these indomitable sea wolves carved longhouse empires pulsing with skier feasts, fierce shield maidens at the loom, and raw ingenuity that shattered myths. Strap in, as we unearth runes etched in stone, DNA whispering ancient migrations, saga verses thundering like Thor's hammer, and archaeology peeling back the fog to reveal the true Northmen. If this epic plunge into Viking origins stirs your blood like a longship's oars cutting the Whale Road, we would be grateful if you would like the video and subscribe, letting us know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now find your comfortable position, take a deep slow breath, and let us begin with this incredible mystery. Close your eyes and fully immerse yourself in the raw, unbridled chaos of June 8, 793 AD, a date forever etched in blood and fire upon the annals of history. Picture the holy monks of Lindisfarne Abbey, perched on that sacred tidal island off England's tempestuous northeast coast, rising faithfully for their matins prayers in the biting chill of the pre-dawn hush, their breath visible in the flickering candlelight of stone-hewn chambers. The air hangs heavy with the soothing scent of curling incense from swinging Thursdayables, while gentle waves lap rhythmically against the pebbled shore like a deceptive lullaby whispered by the gods themselves. The monastery, a beacon of Christian piety founded centuries earlier by Irish saints, houses priceless treasures, ornate reliquaries encrusted with emeralds and sapphires, vellum manuscripts painstakingly illustrated with scenes from the Gospels, and the revered bones of Saint Cuthbert, said to perform miracles for the devout. Then, without mercy, a guttural roar shatters the fragile peace, like thunder forged in the depths of Niflheim rolling relentlessly from the northern horizon. The monks freeze, hearts pounding. Omens had plagued the months prior, whirlwinds tearing across the skies, flashes of lightning illuminating the night, and fiery dragons glimpse soaring through the clouds, as recorded in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, portending doom upon Christendom. The horizon itself erupts in cataclysmic fury. 9 sleek dragon-headed longships materialize from the swirling mist, their black sails billowing ominously against the blood-orange blaze of sunrise, oars churning the frothy sea like the relentless jaws of Jormungandr, the world-encircling serpent of Norse lore. These vessels, marvels of Scandinavian shipbuilding, slice through the waves with predatory grace, clinker-built hulls of overlapping oak planks riveted by iron clench nails, shallow drafts under 1 meter allowing them to beach effortlessly on any shore, crews of 40 to 80 hardened warriors each. Fur-clad berserkers, their bodies smeared with woad and bear grease for intimidation, leap ashore with feral agility, eyes blazing with the divine frenzy of Odin the Allfather, axes gleaming with razor edges honed on whetstones frosted by Arctic gales. They charge in a wedge formation, shields locked, howling war cries in guttural Old Norse, Ararjalpiakr. Thor help us. No quarter given, they smash golden crosses inlaid with yellow filigree, rip jeweled relics from marble altars with crowbars forged in Norwegian bog irons, slaughter any resistors in gruesome sprays of crimson arterial blood that paints the sandstone walls. Frail monks crumple lifeless in the nave amid splintered oak pews, toppled alabaster saints, and trampled folios of vellum scattering like autumn leaves. One chronicler later laments, they came to the church of Lindisfarne, laid everything waste with grievous plundering, trampled the holy places with polluted steps, dug up the altars and seized all the treasures of the holy church. By the time the sun climbs high, the raiders have methodically stripped the abbey bare, chalices hammered flat for hack silver, bells wrenched from towers to be melted down, survivors herded onto the ships as thralls destined for Scandinavian markets. As dusk falls and the tide ebbs, exposing the island's muddy causeway. The Northmen melt away like ghosts into the mist, longships gliding silently back into legend, laden with plunder worth a chieftain's ransom. The shaken Northumbrian monk Alcuin, scholar and advisor to Charlemagne, pens a desperate letter to King Athelred of Northumbria. Never before has such an atrocity desecrated Britain as we have now suffered at the hands of a pagan race. The church of St. Cuthbert spattered with the blood of the priests of God, stripped of all its furnishings, exposed to the plunderings of the pagans. This wasn't mere banditry, it was a seismic shockwave rippling through medieval Europe, interpreted as divine wrath or the harbinger of Ragnarok. This savage dawn raid on Lindisfarne didn't just scar the English coast, it detonated the Viking Age, unleashing a 300-year maelstrom of raids, trade, conquest, and settlement that reshaped the map of Europe from the pillaged monasteries of Ireland to the throne rooms of Constantinople. Rivers ran red from Dublin to the Volga, kingdoms toppled, languages blended, DNA mingled across continents. But who were these Northmen, these sea wolves who struck from the fog? Mindless barbarians howling at the moon under horned helmets, as Hollywood would paint them. Or shrewd innovators, explorers, and traders forged in the crucible of ice, fire, and relentless fjord winds. Strap in for episode 1 of our immersive Viking saga. Who were the Vikings? Origins and identity. I'm your saga weaver, your guide through the runes, DNA analyses, saga verses, and dirt-spattered archaeology that peels back the myths. If these epic raids set your pulse thundering like Thor's goats across the Rainbow Bridge, smash that like button, subscribe for 6 myth-shattering episodes packed with Norse thunder, high seas drama, and forgotten truths, and drop a comment below. What's your favorite Viking legend? Ragnar Lothbrok's serpents, Lagertha's shield wall fury, or Floki's raven-guided voyages? Let's hoist the raven banner sails and plunge into the misty, blood-soaked past together. To truly grasp who the Vikings were and what forged their indomitable spirit, you must first root yourself deeply in their cradle, Scandinavia during the late 8th century, a brutal, ice-sculpted peninsula jutting defiantly from Europe's northern shoulder, home to an estimated 1 to 2 million hardy souls scattered across Denmark's windy Jutland plains dotted with fertile dunes and marshy meadows. Norway's knife-edge fjords carved by ice-age glaciers into sheer cliffs plunging thousands of feet into the sea, and Sweden's endless taiga forests of dark pine and birch teeming with wolves, bears, and elusive elk herds. This was no cozy hygge paradise of modern myth. It was a land where nature itself was an unrelenting adversary, testing every soul from cradle to grave. Consider Norway's western coast, a fractured labyrinth of granite mountains rising vertically from ink-black waters, natural harbors shielded by offshore islands but battered by North Atlantic storms that could generate waves cresting 30 meters high, flaying skin from bone with horizontal sleet driven at 100 kilometers per hour. Winters devoured fully half the year or more. Polar nights cloaked the fjords in 20-hour stretches of impenetrable gloom. Temperatures plummeting to minus 30 degrees Celsius, minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, triggering massive avalanches that thundered down slopes like the hammer blows of Thor himself, entombing entire villages beneath meters of compacted snow and ice. Livestock perished en masse, frozen solid where they stood. Starvation gnawed at the populace. Like NHGGR, the dread dragon, devouring the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Archaeological evidence from sites like Sunmore reveals mass graves with individuals showing signs of hypothermia and malnutrition, their bones scarred by months of calcium-leached diets. Summers, by stark contrast, flashed by in a frantic blur under the midnight sun. Scant months were the soil, often too thin and acidic for reliable wheat cultivation, forced reliance on hardy barley, oats, and rye scraped from marginal pastures amid boulder-strewn fields. Cattle and sheep eked out existence on heather, bilberry bushes, and whatever coastal grass survived salt winds. fishing became lifeline, with herring shoals darkening fjords like living silver, hauled in by hand-lined hooks from skin-covered umiaks. By around 750 AD, archaeological digs scream of dire overpopulation pressures. Excavations at Borg and Lofoten, Norway, uncover dense clusters of 50-plus longhouses crammed into every fertile nook from Trondelag's sheltered bays to upland's inland ridges near Gamla Uppsala's sacred temple mounds, each hearth choked with tens of thousands of fish bones, seal blubber residues, and iron slag from bloomery smelting bog ore into pattern-welded blades. Chief Floki Vilgerarsson, immortalized in the Landnámabók sagas as the bold but ill-fated scout, sailed west toward Iceland in 868 AD, naming it Island after his daughter's geese drowned in a fjord and the grasslands turned treacherously frozen, dooming his first colony to grim abandonment amid volcanic ash and relentless gales. Blood feuds erupted like geothermal geysers across these crowded steads, ambitious young jarls and landless younger sons, their inheritance claims crushed by primogeniture customs, turned hungry eyes toward the open horizon, dreaming of glory and gold beyond the whale roads. Blame the capricious skies as well, the medieval warm period's fleeting thaw, which had briefly greened Greenland's coasts and fattened Icelandic pastures around 800 AD, began fading into the chilling onset of the Little Ice Age by the late 8th century. Tree-ring data from the Yamal Peninsula in Siberia and layered ice cores extracted from Greenland's summit ice cap pinpoint catastrophic crop failures around 790 AD. Dendrochronologist Mike Bailey links it to a grim echo of the AD 536 volcanic mega-eruption that plunged the world into an 18-month volcanic winter, causing widespread famine from China to the Mediterranean. Narrow annual growth rings in Irish oak dendrochronologies corroborate crop killers, summers too cool and wet for grain to ripen, harvests rotting in the field. No surplus grain meant no lavish feasts to bind warrior retinues with oaths of loyalty, no economic clout for chieftains to maintain silver-hoarding prestige in the cutthroat gift economies of the sagas. Trade networks tantalized as lifelines, Denmark's teeming Baltic herring fisheries drawing merchants from Frisia to Gotland, Norway's bog iron forges, fueled by charcoal from cleared birchwoods, hammering out legendary 50 kilograms pattern-welded Ulfbert swords inscribed with mysterious +Wolf Bear +T runes, likely Frankish imports smuggled via Dorstad's emporiums despite Carolingian bans. Sweden's audacious walrus ivory hauls, tusks dragged overland from Greenland's remote northwest via Norse outposts, fetched astronomical fortunes in Abbasid Baghdad souks, bartered for silver direms, glass beads, and silk bolts dyed Tyrian purple. Yet amid this crucible of scarcity, Scandinavia birthed its ultimate revolution, the longship, the Excalibur of the Northmen, a technological leap that transformed isolated fjord dwellers into masters of the known world. Dramatic slow-motion assembly sequence, timber felled by double-bit axes from oak copses, planks meticulously overlapped in clinker-built genius for serpentine flecks over storm waves, riveted securely with iron clench nails hammered cold from smelted blooms, keels hewn from single tree trunks for unerring straightness. A single towering square sail of striped wool or linen, reinforced with leather patches, harnessed unpredictable gales, 30 to 40 pairs of oars, wielded by synchronized rowers chanting cadence in runic verses, powered stealthy river crawls upstream or desperate open sea dashes across the North Atlantic's heaving swells. Technical specs boggle the mind, 20 to 35 meters long, 5-meter beam for stability, draft under 1 meter allowing beaching on any shingle spit or shallow estuary, row straight up the Volga to Caspian silk bazaars, or the Rhine to Paris's glittering gold vaults. Crews of 40 to 80 warriors crammed shoulder to shoulder, shields lashed to gunwales for instant shield walls, subsisting weeks on salt herring, hard cheese, dried peas, and soured ale sloshing in casks. Snorri Sturluson boasts proudly in his Heimskringla King sagas, from Norway's fjords to the Shetland Isles in a mere 3 days under fair winds, outpacing any lumbering Byzantine galley or Frankish cog. No sluggish or barges these, they were stealth bombers of the early medieval world, launching Danes at England's undefended river-mouth monasteries, Norwegians across storm-lashed Atlantic stepping stones like the Faroe Islands, Orkneys, and Hebrides, Swedes snaking eastward via Russia's labyrinthine river systems to found outposts at Styria, Ladoga, and ultimately Miklagard, Constantinople itself, where Varan John Guard swore fealty to Basilii emperors. Renowned archaeologist Neil Price encapsulates it perfectly. The ships didn't just carry the Vikings into history, they made the Vikings what they were, masters of mobility in a world of static kingdoms. Necessity, that merciless forge god, had birthed an empire of ice-blooded opportunists, ready to seize the seas. Ditch the Hollywood trope of perpetual mead-soaked berserkers charging into endless battle. 99% of Norse life throbbed with gritty, ingenious routine, a symphony of survival ingenuity amid Scandinavia's unforgiving rhythms. Sweeping montage, wisps of peat smoke curl lazily from turf-roofed longhouse hearths, rain pattering steadily on thick sod roofs alive with wildflowers in summer, the earthy scent mingling with drying herbs. A typical homestead was a monumental 25m x 5m timber-framed hall of oak posts and wattle-daub walls meticulously packed with moss and clay for superior insulation against polar blasts, central hearth roaring ceaselessly on compacted flagstone floors, its smoke venting through a louvered sod roof hole functioning as a primitive Viking chimney, drawing drafts that kept the inferno alive through long nights. Benches doubled as beds, piled high with fresh rushes, woolen fleeces from Shetland sheep, and luxurious bear or reindeer rugs for the elite. A bustling family of 10 to 20 souls bunked communally alongside tools, looms, for all quarters, and even livestock in winter, creating a pungent symphony of earthy peat fires, fermenting fish on drying racks, unwashed human ambition, and the lowing of penned cattle. Grub kicked off at dawn with skyr, a thick, soured yogurt curdled from goat or cow milk using rennet, packed with probiotics for gut-hardy sailors, paired with barley flatbread baked on soapstone griddles, and smoked herring netted from fjord seines, their oily flesh preserved through cold smoking over juniper branches. Dinner simmered patiently in massive iron cauldrons suspended from roof beams, leek and onion porridge enriched with pork scraps from forest-raised swine, wild garlic foraged from woodland edges, and bog myrtle leaves imparting that distinctive piney, resinous kick akin to a proto-hopped ale. Your feasts escalated to opulent roasts of whole boar dripping savory fat onto crackling embers, accompanied by fermented red currant sauces and halls brimming with 100-plus revelers. Self-reliance was the unyielding law of the land. Men wrestled ardplows, curved wooden beasts drawn by oxen, through boulder-littered turf to scratch out furrows for oats. Hooked massive cod from 6 serene skin boats on codlins baited with squid, tracked majestic elk with birch longbows tipped in iron in Sweden's taiga hunts, dragging carcasses home on sledges. Women emerged as domestic dynamos of unparalleled skill. They spun raw wool on the iconic Orstford distaff pinned to their belts, a feminist badge of productivity symbolizing their economic power, plying drop spindles to twist yarn finer than Frankish imports, brewed hazy, nutrient-rich ale at 5 to 10% ABV using juniper or yarrow instead of hops, stronger than a jarl's sworn oath and vital for calorie-dense nutrition, oversaw thrall gangs wielding wooden flails to thresh golden grain on earthen barn floors. The social pyramid stratified this world with ironclad precision. At the base, thralls comprised 20 to 30% of the population, were booty captured from Ireland's coasts, Courland's Baltic tribes, or Slavic river folk, bartered like prime horses at Hedeby markets, occasionally branded on the cheek with hot irons per Gragas laws. Yet sagas brim with tales of freedmen like Ivan or Skaldespiller rising to skaldic glory through cunning verse. Carls, the freeholding farmers forming 70% of society, armed themselves with spear, axe, and round shield for the thing, those legendary outdoor parliaments convened on sacred neutral ground, where law speakers known as Lagertha chanted flawlessly from memory the 400-stanza Gragas legal code, etched on no parchment but preserved orally across generations, settling blood feuds via war guild compensation fines scaled by victim status, e.g., 96 silver marks for a jarl's life, or declaring full outlawry, utlajai, stripping felons of all rights to be slain on sight. Jarls consolidated power by binding loyal warbands with lavish ring gifts, massive silver arm rings, hacked piecemeal from looted Celtic brooches or Arabian hack silver, doled out at blots, sacrificial feasts where stallions' throats were slit over high altars to fry for fertility, blood splattered on carved posts to seal oaths. Kings like Harold Harfagri Fairhair, 872 AD, clawed Norway's fractured throne through raid-fueled conquests, uniting petty kingdoms under his raven banner after the Battle of Hafrsfjord. His Orkneyinga saga boasts bedding some 300 women to sire a dynasty, ensuring posterity as ultimate power. Yet women wielded clout that shocked contemporaries. They could initiate divorce at the Thing for reasons like impotence, abuse, or infidelity, reclaiming full dowry plus fines, inherited land equally with brothers under Nordic equal primogeniture, unlike Salic law Europe, bossed massive iron keyrings as husfrija, housemistress, jangling symbols of domain over larders, looms, and thralls. Lagertha, that fierce shield maiden legend from Saxo Grammaticus's Gesta Danorum, avenged her kin by axe-slaying a Swedish prince in single combat, skippering dragon ships to glory. Birka grave 581 in Sweden. A groundbreaking 2020 DNA study in Nature revealed a high-status sword-bearer interred with full warrior kit, biological female, sparking furious debate but underscoring graves overflowing with paired female oval brooches beside spears, arrows, and chain mail. Children toughened from infancy, boys drilled relentlessly with blunted wooden swords at age 7, memorized the 16 Elder Futhark runes by firelight for talismanic carvings. Girls wielded needles and knives, carving their own distaffs while learning herbal lore for poultices. Faith permeated every fiber, Asatru pantheon whittled into ship prows and hearth posts, Thor's Mjolnir amulets hammered from silver swung against trolls and Jotnar, Freya's seer shamanic magic, staff world prophecies divine from chants and drum beats. Skalds ignited feasts with Eddic fire, dramatic recitation amid flickering torchlight, cattle die, kindred die, every man is mortal, but the Ivaldi name never dies of one who has done well, one who has gained glory. Markets like Ribe in Jutland or Hedeby's massive walls buzzed multicultural. Frenzy, Frankish Rhenish glassware, Byzantine silks dyed cochineal red, bartered fiercely for Irish thralls, Baltic amber necklaces glowing like frozen sunlight. This merit-fueled, gender-fluid edge turbocharged their world-conquering adaptability. Geneticist Esk Willerslev concludes from 442 Viking genomes, Vikings weren't mere conquerors, they were unparalleled connectors, weaving genes and goods across hemispheres. Comment your busted trope, like for raids on subs, share the saga. Hail Odin, Freya, Allfather, fair winds next on Viking seas.